All right, I have got a very exciting build. This is a legit 2-for-1 build. Let's pop into T15 here. And what do I mean by legit 2-for-1 build? What this build can do, it started off as a block build. So it's got max block, and when I've got my shield out here, I can go block mode and can pretty much tank most everything that attacks. And with this shield here, whenever I block, it puts a massive corrupting blood onto the enemy, and then I stack that with stacking as much life as possible. So 50%. This one's corrupted, it rolled up, but the base ones are just 50%. I do like what, 3-something thousand damage per corrupting blood on block, and I can get up to 10 of those. So that was the original idea, right? So I do, this is a Warbringer, so I can actually block these AoEs. Normal block, you can't block. This is a perfect example. These little guys, these grenades. Without being the Warbringer, you can't block those things without the ascendancy. So that was the original build, right? And it's pretty solid. This item's pretty cool. But I was selling you on a 2-for-1. What's the other side? Because I realized there's a few mobs in this game that you can't really block. I mean, most things you can just block and they'll attack and it's no big deal. But for the ones that can't, it got really annoying and it got really slow. Some of them you can't block at all, some of them are just slow. So when we come to that, so there's some slow guys over there. We have a caster setup on our weapon swap using the alternate weapons and all that stuff. So here we go. I can swap off the Mana Tempest and do a little fireballing to clear the screen that way. Now, in this mode, I lose all of my block, so you have to be a little bit careful. You're much less tanky without the shield and without all your block, but it gives you this really fun gameplay. There, you can just pop up and start doing fireballs and help clear the screen when your block damage isn't really cool enough. But as you can see, when you don't have your block, you can die. So yeah, that's a quick demo of what this is, and it is very legit, a very cool combo build where you can like stand here and tank things. You can do the tanky stuff. I've got a ton of regen with the consecrated ground plus the Fox here giving some regen. So with it all stacked up, just have good life regen to deal with the hits that get through the block, and then the block does all the rest. So yeah, that's one build, and you could just, I played the build like this for most of the character's life. The idea was to focus on the block and see what this shield could do with the life stacking. Also the corpse explode from Warbringer, super handy for packs, so very playable. But then every once in a while, this isn't a great example, I could block all this, but say you couldn't, you can just pop into this mode, hit him with some of the fireballs, and clear up the backs. Super cool, super fun, and just, I'm just really blown away because this is the first build in my 10 years of playing Path of Exile 1 and playing a little Path of Exile 2, where it's a legit, like, combo, hybrid, do two things pretty well. Right? So I can stand around and be defensively with the block and play the game like this if I want, not really paying attention, much better for videos because less chance of dying. But then, if I'm like, alright, screw it, well, it's not good when you're surrounded like this, keep your block up. But then if you're just like, oh, there's slow packs off in the distance, pop up into here, and send them some fireballs. Plenty of range, plenty of distance. The mana's a little tricky, I think, because this whole caster business was just tacked on at the end as a way to kind of deal with things that couldn't, like I couldn't parry, it couldn't block, right? And it turned into a really powerful, really fun thing. And, you know, so yeah, so you kind of play it both ways, right? When most stuff can handle the blocks, you can, you know, watch out for damaging stuff. And we'll get into the gear in a second. You're not the super tanky, because even though you have so much life, you're sacrificing your elemental resistances to get it. We'll talk about that next, but so yeah, it's just so cool to have this. Like, I can just stay in here, tank things, but then if it's like, ah, you know what, I want some more flashiness, I'll just start fireballing. And then, if you pay attention, get away. If you pay attention, things get rushed. Oh no, all this stuff. Just bust out the shield, go back to defense mode, and you know, chances are you'll be plenty safe, and the mob will just kill themselves. So the way this build works, like I said, we've got the two combos, and the key pieces of gear are, believe it or not, Veil of the Night. So if you're a PoE1 player, you're familiar with this item in PoE1. It's absolute trash. Nobody uses it, doesn't do anything. But what happened in PoE2, I think it was somewhere in Cruel, getting near the end of the game, and I was just struggling to upgrade gear and find resists. And I realized I basically had, you know, the resists I had, all they were doing were getting me to 0 resist. And then I saw this, and it was like, oh, well, 50% life is pretty big, right? That's the big change between PoE 1 and 2 with this item, is you get that 50% life on this, which is pretty unheard of. And, well, I mean, it is unheard of. It's the only item that does anything like this. But the cost is no LA resist. But it kind of pans out, right? Like, once you actually try it and you start to see what this item does, is it gives you a much bigger life pool, but those elemental hits will take a bigger hit out of it. So it actually tends to synergize pretty well with the block, right? Because most of the time you're blocking 75% of the time, or if you've got your parry up, you're blocking 100% of the time. So that doesn't matter at all. But you know, those 25 hits that get through, if they've got some elemental damage on them, they'll do a bit more damage than if you had full 75 resistance. But since you've got an extra 50% life, that buffer is a lot bigger to deal with to kind of tank those hits. And yeah, that's pretty much the long and short of it, is that this lets you stack life more effectively, because now all the rest of your gear, you don't have to worry about resists at all. Now, ironically, these are topaz rings, just because that's what I happen to be able to find on trade. But all I was searching for is life, chaos resists, and like strength is good. I don't really need the dexterity here or the int, but you know, those are the main things. Life, mana's good. This ring's really nice. I'll probably be wearing this for a long time. Same thing I do with the belt. Don't need any resistances on the belt. Just happen to have it on there for the one I was able to find, with a lot of life and a lot of strength. And so yeah, Veil of the Night, it started off as kind of just like, I thought it would be a temporary thing. I thought it would just be handy to kind of finish the campaign, get a boost to HP, and then don't have to worry about resistances. It just turns them off. But I kind of never took it off, and now I'm corrupting them because I want to get a like 55 plus increased life 1 on the corruption roll. So yeah, low key, this combo with Veil of the Night, and then of course Kaom's Heart for 1,000 life. So just very great synergy here for a ton of life stacking. If I think I can take this off safely. I can't. I take this off, you can see without this, I'm only down, 4,200, 4,000 life. So this helmet's giving me more than 2,000 life. So, Kaom's heart is 1,000 life. Kaom's helmet is 2,000 life. So it's kind of worth it, right? It's kind of worth it to change the way you play, right? So now, if you do pick up this item, you'll find there's certain enemies that become much more dangerous than they used to be. And but I would say it's pretty good trade-off, because the majority of the game is all physical damage, right? Like you're mainly getting swarms of packs, swarms of little whatevers are doing physical damage. So for those, you just got a giga life pool physical damage, even with, I do have some armor here, but I'm not really investing in armor by any means. So, anything that's not an Elliot, you get all the benefit of this massive life pool. And then you just kind of learn to avoid some of the Elliots, right? There's particular things where you're like, oh yeah, that'll kill me. But it's only a handful of things, and you just kind of learn quick to avoid them, right? So the bargain here is like, sure, you'll lose your elemental resistances, so you're a little squishier to elemental hits, but you get a much bigger life pool, you get extremely easier gearing. This gear is much cheaper to buy, because you don't need to have all these good stats and elemental resistances. And yeah, it's a good one. So what else we got going on here? We already talked about the shield. This is the key piece for the block side of the build. And so yeah, not much more to say there. Pretty straightforward. And this is kind of a secret tech. I'm gonna try this out with my next character. Like, you can put this shield on at 16. Let's see. Yeah, 16, which is right before the end of Act 1. And the Act 1 boss, you can parry a lot of his stuff. So if you've got enough health, you can't chain parry until you get like a big life pool like this. But even at 1,000 life, this is still going to do 500 fizz DPS on each single corrupted blood. And if you can get a couple parries, you stack it up. Like, yeah, pretty easy, cheesy way to get through some bosses, as long as you can parry them. Doesn't quite work with all the bosses. Some of the bosses you can't parry, but the ones you can, doesn't matter what your build is, as long as you've got enough life to do. I don't even think you need that much life. You just stack this up, and then the second part of the tech, quick detour here, you use a Corrupting Cry on Seismic Cry. Now this one you can't get till later, so you can use the other War Cry, which you can get earlier, but that one has a cooldown, so you can't spam it as well to keep your Corrupting Cry up. But anyway, the way that you have this along with the shield is then this, say you have a boss who's really slow hitting, but you can parry it, so you parry it, you get one stack of Corrupting Blood on there, then you can use this to refresh the duration and keep that stack going, right? Because this on its own is going to do very little damage, even with decent strength. So, assuming your build's not stacking strength, it doesn't matter. Just get a couple parries off with the shield, and then use Seismic Cry to maintain and keep that thing going. All right, back to the gear. Is there anything else to mention in the gear for the block side? I don't think so. So yeah, then for the spellcaster side, we swap over here, and we start slinging fireballs. The spellcaster's built all around this Rathpith globe. Pretty straightforward. Get, 600% increase damage with 6,000 life, I think. That's pretty good. Crit chance is pretty good. Right now the fireball is, we're looking at not quite 30% crit chance, and I've got really no other investment. We'll look at the tree in a second. So just with this item alone, we're getting a good amount of damage and a good amount of crit chance. The extra cost is I I mean, yeah, I guess you can see the cost is there. So it's definitely a bit of a cost. And the cost seems a bit high. I think because I was... okay, the regen definitely helps. I just started playing with Unleash. Oh, okay, yeah. So I just slapped Unleash in there. That's why it's draining even more. What was I using before? I was using Conk Effect before. Conk Effect doesn't have any modifier. Oh yeah, that's much nicer. So now, yeah, not nearly as bad drain. Still a little bit, but, you know, nothing crazy. And with your font up, with this, you know, you typically don't have the Consecrated Ground, it doesn't last too long, but the Orb of Storms with the font stays up, no problem. And then, yeah. So yeah, this is our spellcast mode, Rathpith Globe, and very powerful and pretty affordable. Turn off the storm guy. Pretty affordable, because, I don't know, I guess people aren't really doing this type of build, but I think with this combo now, like if you're willing to play the game the way Veil of the Night lets you play, then, you know, this just slaps. Wand-wise, nothing special. I got this for like 2x as an upgrade from a life spring that I was using. But really, this worked just as fine as well. And the leech 1% life when you cast a spell is pretty nice, right? Really, you can see now. I don't think I can get my life drain to go down at all. Whereas this one, yeah, you can start to see just slightly spamming, you can go down. So that 1% life when you cast a spell is actually kind of nice. Nice little bonus there, and also just a cheap weapon to get you started. But again, this wand was cheap. When I was shopping for wands, they looked pretty good for pretty cheap. Good wands don't seem that expensive. Maybe these are all really trash rolls or something, but this is plenty good enough for what I'm doing right now for the weapon swap. And yeah, that's the gear. And now let's look at the tree side of things. So, like I said, when I started this build, was a Warbringer guy here, mainly to get the block chance. So, you know, we get increased block chance, and then 40% base is huge for our block shield, because these bucklers kind of have low block chance to start. So this is essentially, what, 15 flat block chance, and then having this can block damage from all hits. What this means is all those AoE things, like the magic mobs that explode, you can block those. You can basically block every hit in the game once you take this with your passive block, not the active parry, but just the passive block. And then the fourth points, honestly, on this one, it's probably just going to be, you know, the corpse explode is nice for a clear if you're going to stick with the block side of things. And, you know, Jade can give you some PDR and some extra EHP, but I haven't tested it out yet because I just haven't tested it. It doesn't seem that great. You know, maybe you get the war down cooldown. So the fourth points, you know, probably just Jade and you get some PDR, and that's probably good, but physical damage really hasn't been any problem with this. Breaking armor and these sort of things aren't really doing anything, though maybe now that with the spellcaster, perhaps break armor could do something. Anyway, that is the ascendancy. Now for the tree. Now super cool. We'll start up here at the top with the spellcaster. You can see the green faint line here. This is the weapon swap. This is what swaps to when we go to the spellcaster mode, and in weapon swap 1 we go to the block nodes. And oh yeah, I forgot, I need to fix, I can actually get a little bit more strength here and put these into the weapon swap instead. But anyway, so yeah, you kind of see this, the weapon swap 1's kind of hard to see, but it's the slightly redder is just these block here, 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 and here. And then eventually I'll fix this so these go away too. And then we swap up to weapon swap 2 up here. mainly to get intelligence, because you can see here, you know, I need more intelligence. I can't have the intelligence. It's not until I swap into the second swap that all this intelligence comes online. Intelligence here, even this intelligence is useful to get us enough both to use the focus to begin with, which is 139, pretty pricey, and even just using spells. This is, I think this is, I got it to 18 I can afford? Yeah. So I got a level 18 on the fireball, which I think I need a little bit more int if we wanted to fully level it up, right? So anyway, like I said, this is kind of a late addition to the build and a kind of a secondary thing, just sort of testing it out and working way better than I ever expected it. But yeah, so it makes a really cool mechanic. When you swap into your defense, all your shield block comes back on. Other things on the tree, I did get this against the darkness. I was able to snag this for a divine, and it's okay. It's probably better than most jewels. It gets about, you know, like 100, a little over, what is it, like 100 and something flat on there with these particular nodes. I'm considering as I level up, maybe taking these nodes to get some stuff here, right? So you can kind of get these health nodes. So it's kind of good, but I think there's probably better upgrades to make. So I probably jumped the gun, but I got 2 lucky divines, so I had to spend them. What's the point of divines in the stash anyway? So, yeah, otherwise tree-wise, the only real things, like the core of this build is just getting lots of regen, lots of life, lots of strength. So from the tree, you can get the regen through here. I might rework this. You could, you know, maybe more efficient to go through here, but anyway, for now, getting a bit of armor is fine, and then all the regen nodes here, the regen nodes here. I'm on the fence about this node, but the reduced crit damage bonus, it does help more with elemental because of Veil of the Night. Like, another thing about this item is it kind of changes the way you think about how you're going to handle certain like elemental hits, that type of stuff. So with this node, that 20% reduced is a little more effective when the crits do get through the block, but I don't know, mainly for stats, I suppose. But yeah, otherwise, a bit of fizz damage here for the corrupted blood increase, really taking absolutely, I think that's it. I think this is the only increased damage on the block side of the tree. You can take these nodes here if you wanted to, like, skip the caster entirely. I even, at one point, I was over to these fizz nodes here. I'm pretty sure they affect the corrupting blood from the shield. They should, because it's, you know, I'm inflicting a corrupting blood. That's physical damage, and increased physical damage should increase it. But so yeah, anyway, pretty sure that works. Down here it's just more recovery rate, regen rate. I did try out this guy, so I don't think this is super necessary, but it was kind of neat to try out for the dodge roll avoidance. We're actually converting the avoidance to taking less damage from hits while rolling, and basically all that means is then while I'm blocking, I can block hits while dodge rolling, right? So normally when you dodge roll, that first little roll, you're immune, but with this node, it's possible for enemies to still hit me, and I'll take less damage, but also I can do damage because I can block. But that said, it's kind of a, it's the 30% less damage window is really small, and you may be better off without it, but it was fun to try. So yeah, other nodes, it's just kind of your run-of-the-mill, get your strength. Ailment threshold's pretty handy with this build because the life is so high, your ailment threshold's really high, so I rarely have to deal with elemental ailments, but freeze is kind of the only one that's occasionally annoying. You know, if the freeze builds up and I get it frozen, it's typically been like for a long time. So that's what I'm going charm-wise. I even had a charm belt for a while. So I was using this one for a while and trying out some of these charms here for more defensive stuff. Like this one here for if you get shocked, you get Lightning damage is unlucky, but you know, it only lasts for less than 4 seconds. Getting shocked is pretty rare now because my life is so high. You know, shocked ground kind of disables this because it counts shocked ground as becoming shocked. So it just drains it when you've got any shocked ground effects or anything like that. So it kind of works, but you know, I don't know. You kind of have to play around. None of these really did anything too crazy, especially once I've got to this level. I'd say when you're maybe a bit lower life or earlier on, having a few extra charms for some of these dots. You kind of just play it by ear and see what's bothering you, right? I was doing the ignites for the while. This one I had on for a long time because the ignites were pretty hefty. But, so yeah. Let me see if there's anything else I want to talk about. This thing is so fun. The gear swap is so cool. Swapping into this where you actually get a usable caster build that's, you know, can actually run around and kill things with the caster build, and then, oh snap, there's a bunch of mobs. Okay, I can just go in defensive modes and parry like this. It's great. Highly recommend it. Highly recommend Veil of the Night. Can't believe I'm saying that, but like, kind of slaps. Kind of is great. I think it's great for the campaign at the very least when you're struggling with resistances and buying gear is a pain in the ass. You just pop this on and then just say, screw it, I'm just going to stack life. I'm going to put this on and be fine. Now, your results may vary, right? Because, of course, I was doing this while focusing on block. So, you know, if you're... This may not work 100% of the time, but that 50% life is just so juicy. Anyway, other than that, oh yeah, Kaom's with the 1,000 life is a pretty obvious choice. The no spirit isn't too bad of a downside, because I really didn't have any good spirit gems. I was using Time of Need before I got to Kaom's with, you know, a bit of regen and whatever, but it, you know, so that you can do that, and that leads me, I did want to mention this guy, Rat's Cage. Before Kaom's I was using Rat Cage as well, and I think you can use it much, you can use this at a much lower level, so in the campaign, definitely recommend this for if you're going to try to level with this or use this some of this tech in earlier in the campaign. Because the cool thing with this, that the downside, the fire damage, take it as physical damage, well, now you don't take any fire damage, and since you don't have any resistances, that kind of means, oh, now your fire damage is like you deal with it the same way, like armor and whatnot. And it's not getting amplified by your lack of resistances anymore. So it's actually a kind of a nice combo. So with this, now you only have to really look out for lightning and cold damage, and fire damage you can kind of ignore again. So yeah, Rat's Cage is pretty nice. It's the 300 life is nice, and then it works well with this for leveling stuff. All right, cut back into talk skills. I didn't go through all the skills. So on the parry side, just doing this. Parry doesn't really have many supports, so this was an option, works fine. Mobility is, don't really use it, whatever, but anyway. Parry skill, all your default skills. The Decompose, I got it with this wand here.
But I can improve.
Oh, okay, that's good. I got this wand here with Decompose. I haven't tried out Decompose, but it's potentially interesting. It's based off the corpse life, so it could be a cool thing. But anyway, the real skills, Leap Slam is the main one to move around, using the Holy Descent for Consecrated Ground. Magnified Effect makes it a little bit bigger. Martial Tempo to be faster. Alternatively, there's the Spear Jump as well. I tried the Thunder Leap Spear attack. If you want to go spears, you could do that as well. Or any other sort of movement skill, that you want. Other skills, Seismic Cry, talked about that before with the Corrupting Cry. I put Second Wind here just as a backup. The way Seismic Cry works is it only has a cooldown, like if it does the stun or whatever it says. Yeah, so most of the time you can spam it, but Like, I took this out, and then eventually I did somehow stun something with it and had to wait for the cooldown. So this is more than enough to make it so your Seismic Cry never goes on cooldown. Orb of Storms is just for support. So I'm going to plop that down. You can see we get a little bit of the red glow there for Font of Blood, Font of Mana, and then put the Arcane Tempo on here because I tend to use this spell the most. Bone Cage, I was just playing around with that. It kind of works, but I don't really use it. This can be something as a utility skill to like stop if things are chasing you, but yeah. Fireball's the main skill I'm using as the caster now. I tested all the skills. The cold skills are also a good option if you like that. You can freeze things. The skull skills might be better. Excuse me. Cold skills might be better just for defensively stuff, but the fireball with the spread and now with Mana Tempest, working with fireball, Mana Tempest is just super OP now. So yeah, fireball's got concentrated effect, the acceleration so they move a little bit faster, and then getting the +2 proj. The +2 proj all shotgun and stuff. I was also playing around with Unleash. Earlier in the video I had Unleash in. I'm not really sure exactly what supports are. Unleash kind of is a little bit more of a burst. Conk effect, kind of a little bit more damage. Either way. Mana Tempest is really the star of the show here. Getting that 74% extra damage on top is pretty huge. And then having all of the fireballs split is also huge. Like, this is a really big spell. And then the fun tech with this, though, is normally it costs mana per second. With life tap, it costs life per second. So when I pop up into this, I can scale this. I'll just spam here, get the storm down for some regen, and eventually you can see the life pool. Yeah, there we go. So now I've hit the point where I've cast enough where the regen's actually costing me, but just putting down Orb Storms counters it. So it's more than enough. Long story short, you can cast as much as you want. As long as you don't stay here and you're like super long, you're totally fine. And if you stay in here too long, I mean, you'll just see your life start to creep down. But yeah, so it basically makes this free, right? I can basically use this all I want and can cast as much as I want while I'm inside of it, and just fireball everywhere. Other things in Mana Tempest, I don't know why I put the 4 links or the 5 links on this skill instead of Firewall, but one of them dropped, it so happened this way. But the cooldown recovery is, I'd probably say that's probably the second most important, honestly. Without it, you'll definitely feel it. It's just slightly slower than I'd liked without the cooldown recovery here, and with this it makes it much smoother. There's still a slight delay, so the cooldown, like once you leave the storm, you can't spam it right away, but with the cooldown it comes up pretty quick. So there's a slight downtime, but you've got plenty of things to do. You can move, you can block, you can Orb of Storms. Anyway. The other two then are the Culling Strike on the everything gets empowered, which is pretty nice. Culling Strike on all the firepowers, pretty cool. And then 15% more damage. So, just more damage modifier. Awesome. Other skills, Solar Orb. I don't think I've actually clicked the button yet. The idea was to do fire exposure, but don't really need it. I'm already clicking, storming into fireballing. Kind of eats up all my time, so Solar Orb doesn't need to be there. The Ember Full Sade, I think this is your best bet for volatile power if you want to use this. And this build can do some decent amount, so I think I can do about 60 or so. This will probably kill me if I don't regen fast enough. Yeah, there you go. So you can stack up this and get pretty decent stacks with such a big life pool, but I rarely do it in maps. I haven't really had the need so far yet, but I'm thinking, later on if you want to focus more on the caster thing, this is another chunky piece of damage. But even fully stacked up, it's still not even as good as just the 75% you get from Mana Tempest. Like, holy. And then Enfeeble, another button I never push. So yeah, those are the spells. And so yeah, it's pretty great. Another great thing, you know, you get cheap gear, and you also really don't need that much in terms of spells. I think eventually upgrade Fireball would be nice and all that, but yeah, spells pretty straightforward. But for the most part, and really, the whole kicker about this build in the back of my mind is like, ultimately, this ascendancy is not doing that much. Like, it is, but it isn't. Getting able to block everything is super comfy, and you know, if you want that, you know, block comfiness, if you like that kind of block style where you're willing to deal with every once in a while the RNG will just kind of screw you over and you'll stop blocking, but most of the time you can feel pretty cozy. The block is pretty good, but with the parry, with the active block here, like, as soon as I hit this button and start parrying, my entire ascendancy disappears. Like, my entire ascendancy and basically half my skill tree doesn't even really matter anymore, right? Because I don't need block chance when I'm parrying. As long as I can block it, it's 100%. You know. Now, of course, I can't parry AoEs and stuff like that, so that's where this comes in handy. But my next idea is like, well, you could drop this, drop the ascendancy, either switch to a Titan, you could get way more health, or go up here, rebuild as a Blood Mage, get way more crit damage and all that, and then you can just hold down the parry button for, you know, most of the mobs that are blockable, right? So, you know, you get a big chunky rare, and even if your build isn't anything like this, just as a weapon swap, just have this as a parry where you've got, you know, some big rare, and just give it a couple corrupted blood stacks, and maybe if you got the sockets, put the cry on if you need it. But yeah, like, it's kind of this weird feeling where it's all this investment to make it feel pretty good walking around, but technically for most things you don't need any of that. You replace all of it with one button. And cool. All right, so, like, you know, when I'm in parry mode, like, half my build doesn't even matter. So yeah, that's where this build is now. I definitely like having the passive block. It's so comfy. I was able to go straight through to T14, T15 maps, literally just chaining bosses. So, like, you know, once I figured out and got my bearings with mapping, just went straight through all these maps, go straight to a map with a boss on it, the little boss icon here, and then if you kill the boss, anything from T1 to T13, kill the boss on your first try, I think. If you die, it might not drop sometimes, but anyway, on your first try, kill the boss, T1 to T13, it'll drop a map the next tier up. And so that's why my map tab looks so funny, because it's, I didn't farm the areas, I just kept going, well, it's still working. And so I went to the next tier and killed the boss at the next tier. I was like, oh, okay, that was easy, it's still working. On to the boss to the next tier, and did that all the way up to tier 14s. And for a lot of those bosses, like I said before, if you're strategic and the boss is parryable, you really don't need the whole build to use the shield to kill the boss. You can just parry the boss a few times, keep the corrupting cry stacks if you need it. But yeah, now it depends on the build. You have to target specific builds, specific bosses to do that if you want to do it without taking this ascendancy. But either way, just to talk about, like, the shield has lots of potential to help kind of, I don't want to call it cheese, it's really smart tech. I don't know, but this could really help get you through some bosses. And then, you know, once you're leveled up, you can swap over, go Rathpith instead, and be a squishy DPS glass cannon. or flip back to this and oh, now you're a block capped tanky guy. Like you're not supposed to be able to do both at the same time, and this build does both at the same time. Super cool. Yeah, I think that's it.